Hey there, Patriots. This is True Outlaw Patriot coming at you with another one. Um, it seems like the deaths of three people in the Rio Grande, a mother and two children, who were trying to cross in from Mexico, is actually more ammunition for the Democrats to use, because everybody knows that the Democrats are the party that you never let a good crisis go to waste. Okay. Now I'm going to show you some clips of what's going on in the media today, even though after yesterday, it was basically brought up to the White House press secretary by a reporter, saying that that the Biden administration, his regime, they lied about how and where, I should say, those three people lost their lives, where they wind up drowning. They tried to push the narrative that, oh, because of what the Republicans are doing and because of what Greg Abbott is doing, that it's the Republicans' fault, is Greg Abbott's fault, when the proof was found out that the authorities in Mexico had already recovered the bodies, okay, because they drowned on their side of the Rio Grande. They didn't make it, supposedly they didn't make it anywhere near the American side. But this is the way the Democrats are. They're just evil, wicked people, the ones that are in charge, the way they do things, and they keep trying to spin things around. So I'm going to show you guys a few clips of what's been going on and how they're going to keep repeating this. And one person in particular, okay, that I find very disgusting, how they're going to use this tragedy, okay, to further their own agenda, okay. But before I continue, I want to thank all my new subscribers and all my subscribers on YouTube and on Rumble. So don't forget to please comment, like, share, subscribe, pass it around. Also, I'm trying to get my subscription count up, trying to get to 500 and better. So if you can pass the channel around to family and friends, and if you can, I've been noticing with the algorithm, as far as like people watching a certain amount of time. I know that sometimes my videos are kind of lengthy, but if you can just watch it, watch them a little longer, it helps out with the algorithm. And if you want to help out with the channel, you can. I'll leave a link in my description to my Cash App and PayPal, and of course the link to my merch store, so you can check out my first design shirt, and hopefully you guys can buy it. That will definitely help out the channel a lot. And together we'll keep this movement going. So I'm going to play this first clip by what's this, MSNBC, and just pay attention to all the clips from now on, how they keep wording things and keep trying to beat the same drum over and over again. Here we go.
Between the Biden administration and the state of Texas over how to handle the border is heating up after the drowning deaths of three migrants in the Rio Grande. The Texas Attorney General is rejecting a cease and desist letter from the Department of Justice after the Biden administration said Texas had barred some Border Patrol agents from accessing a key part of the border. NBC News Homeland Security correspondent Julia Ainsley covers all of this for us. Joins me.
Oh, forgive me, I meant to say NBC News, not MSNBC, even though it's all the same crap coming from these people, but let's continue.
Now, hi, Julia. So for more than a week now, Texas authorities have blocked, we think, border agents, do I have that right, from going into a 50-acre park called Shelby Park. Why is that important? And where is this legal battle going?
You have that right, Kate. And Shelby Park is a place you see me, Morgan Chesky, so many of us come to you live, because it's been an epicenter for the migrant crisis. It's where a lot of migrants are crossing over. You can see those dangerous waters by the Rio Grande coming through that razor wire that is sometimes cut by Border Patrol to let in people who are in distress. They were completely blocked. Border Patrol is completely blocked by Texas Department of Public Safety last week because Governor...
Okay, I want to point something out real quick. You heard what she said. She said that Border Patrol will cut the razor wire to help people out that are in distress. Now, here's the thing, and this is where the Democrats try to use a tragedy for their own benefit. Okay, you see somebody walking down the street, all right? Your property is all gated up. You see them walking down the street, okay? If you see them in distress, you're like, okay, you know what? Let me find out what's going on with that person. You know, they just, you know, something doesn't look right. Some people will stay inside the gate and wait for the person to pass and say, listen, are you okay? What's going on? This situation here, okay, is where the Biden regime does the opposite. Instead of them telling people in Mexico, okay, the ones that are trying to get in and correspond with their government and say, listen, you need to secure your border so they stop crossing over. No, they don't say anything like that. They rather just send Border Patrol to say, if you see anybody in distress, just, you know, cut the wires open and just bring them in, knowing very well that that's not what you're supposed to be doing. But then they try to spin it around and make it seem like, you know what, they were on our side of the property and we have to help them. Wait a minute, but how did they get there? Oh, that's right, they crossed 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, 6, 7, 8 different countries, who knows how many, made it into the water. If anybody can see, I mean, on this side of, you know, on this side, made it in, swam all the way across, and then you want to feel sorry for them because they make it over here or they need help and you're going to let them in. That's not how it is. And this is the problem with the Democrats and what the Biden administration is doing. That they are causing and giving access to these migrants, and when things go south right away, they want to blame it on the Republicans. They want to blame it on people that don't agree with the way things are going down at the border. But let's continue.
Governor Greg Abbott told them that Border Patrol could not have access to that part anymore. They not only could the men and women not go in, they had to remove their equipment. So they weren't able to see footage, Kate, when a mother and her 2 young children were in distress last week. They say they could have been able to save them. Instead, they drowned in the Rio Grande.
Okay, now there you go. Okay, another bold-faced lie, and this came out a couple of hours ago. When yesterday it was proven in front of the White House press secretary, okay, that Mexican authorities had already recovered the bodies even before Border Patrol on our side knew that the woman and her 2 children died. But you see the way they're going to keep pushing this issue. They're going to keep beating it in people's heads. I'm telling you, these Democrats, they're so damn disgusting the way they do things. And this is why I will not stop talking about stuff like this. And people need to keep pushing this issue to expose how these mainstream media outlets, how the Democrats and all these Democratic officials, all the governors, all the mayors, the way they are trying to, because of their own crooked agenda, they will use anybody to further their agenda, regardless if they live or they die, regardless if they're American or they're not. Okay? I mean, it's disgusting to listen to these people. And I have more after this, so stay with me. Let's continue.
Last night, the Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton responded to a cease and desist order from the Biden administration, saying that no, they will not turn this land over to Border Patrol. They will not give them access. And what we can expect, Kate, is probably now for the Justice Department to start a lawsuit, because DHS, when they asked Texas to cease and desist and allow them into that land, they said if they didn't, they would take the matter to the Justice Department. Right now, the Justice Department not commenting on this, but we can imagine that they're probably preparing a lawsuit. And again, this would be the 3rd time the Biden administration would be suing Texas Governor Greg Abbott over his policies on immigration.
And Julia.
Okay, now I want people to understand, listen to this closely, what she's saying. You see, look at the way they're doing things. If they go along with this, it'll be the 3rd time the Justice Department is going after Texas. Okay? Has anybody questioned why Biden hasn't sent in troops of jackboots to go in and take over that border? I mean, Greg Abbott sent his boys in, told Border Patrol, take a hike, implanted his boys. Anybody wonder why Biden can't do that? You know why? Because he can't. Okay? So all this stuff that Biden is doing, him and his regime, the Justice Department, and everybody talking all this fodder to feed to the masses, okay? It's all a farce. They know they don't have a leg to stand on. What Greg Abbott is doing is the right thing. That's why he can do what he's doing. That's why he can go there and kick out Border Patrol and say, I'm putting in my boys. We're going to secure the border. We're going to take over this part. You know why? Because you guys failed. I am the governor of this state. My first job is to the people of this state, especially if the state, okay, is a border state into another country. Because I know a lot of people asking, why can't Biden just go there and kick Abbott out and make him stop this mess? Because he knows that the mess is his. He knows that the mess is his. They've had, what, 3 years to sew this up? Okay? More and more people dying, trying to get through. Greg Abbott didn't do that. No, it was Biden on day one when he erased through executive order all of the policies that Trump had at the border. No, Biden said, no, it's a free fall. Open up the door. Here's the keys. Let's go. Rip this up. And that's why Biden can't really send in his boys to go take over Greg Abbott's boys. Because Greg Abbott's boys are the National Guard. Who do you send in to push out the National Guard? Think about that. But let's continue.
And just quickly, I would imagine maybe some migrants would be deterred now from going into Texas. Is that happening?
Well, we have seen uptick in other places like in Arizona. By and large, the numbers are not nearly as high as they were in December anywhere, though, Kate.
All right.
Okay, I'll just stop it there on this clip. But you see, she just said by and large, the numbers are not as high as they were in December. Why? Because Greg Abbott didn't do this back in December. Greg Abbott, I mean, he was trying his best, but now he is doing a lot more the past couple of weeks. And it's not that it's over, it's just that they're finding it harder because now they're trying to get through some parts of Arizona, but you know, they're trying to sew everything up between Arizona and Texas. But I'm going to show you guys a couple of more clips, so stay with me, of how these people, okay, these evil, wicked people keep pushing this tragedy, making it seem as if, you know what, this has nothing to do with the Democrats. This has everything to do with Republicans, when it's the Democrats that have been in power the past 3 years. But let's continue.
I started my career in immigration enforcement in 1984 as a Border Patrol agent. I worked for 6 presidents, up to Donald Trump. Every president I've ever worked for took some steps to secure the border because they understood you can't have strong national security if you don't have border security. But President Biden is the first president in history of this nation that I know of who came in office and unsecured the border on purpose. And even President Obama gave me the Presidential Rank Award, highest award available. Because
now you heard what he said about what President Obama did, right? Gave him an award. He worked under President Obama, okay? And so much that people want to talk about what Trump did was wrong. When Obama was president, I was living in Orlando, Florida. And the community I lived in, it was mixed. But there was a lot of people from Brazil and a lot of Portuguese, okay? You had to see the sweeps that they were doing, okay? Picking up a lot of these Brazilian guys and deporting them. I mean, there was literally like, there's one lady that lived right across from me. Her husband got caught up in it, but she was American. He was Brazilian, but he was dead. He was legal. They were married. They just happened to pick him up, and they were shipping everybody that they were grabbing to Miami, okay, under Obama's orders, supposedly, but I do believe it, because a lot of the guys that I spoke to back then, okay, all they can, you know, get upset was with Obama, and they were sending them back, separating families, sending them back to Brazil. Okay? So if anybody comes on and says that no, that Trump was a tyrant, no. Obama was doing it. Okay? Obama gave this man, okay, an award. He worked for Donald Trump. And he said altogether 6 presidents up until Donald Trump. And then what happened? He got the boot. And then what happened? Biden basically opened up the floodgates. But I want you guys to listen to what he has to say. Okay? Listen to his statistics. Okay? Not what the Democrats are telling you. Not what the rhino Republicans are telling you. Listen to what this man has to say. Let's continue.
What was I doing at the time? I was locating and deporting people in the country illegally. So we went to the most secure border of my lifetime. And it's not just my opinion. I've done this for 34 years. Anybody can go to cbp.gov and look at the data. We handed this administration the most secure border in my lifetime. And within months, we went from the most secure border to historic illegal immigration. Numbers you've never seen before. It is not because it's seasonal. It's not because of climate change. It's not because of Trump. This is by design.
Okay, you heard what he said. It's not because of seasonal or climate change. AOC, I believe, was the one that said that people are leaving their countries in South America coming here because of climate change. Other morons on the Democratic side are saying, oh, it's a seasonal thing. We have big fluctuations and low fluctuations. Listen, there's no such thing as anybody waiting for the perfect season to leave their country to go to another country, especially if they're fleeing, seeking asylum. Okay? So all you hear is the Democrats just spew nonsense like that, using whatever it is they can to come out and say, you know what? Well, it's because of this. It's because of that. It's because of this. But they won't point the finger at each other and say, you know what? No, it's actually because of us. We're the Democrats. We're the ones in power. We have a president that on day one ripped up every border policy that was actually protecting migrants from coming in, because a lot of them, had they been told you're not allowed here, unless you come here through a port of entry, they wouldn't have been coming in mass, and a lot of them wouldn't have been kidnapped and raped and sold into slavery or drugs coming through. A lot of them murdered. They won't talk about that because that's taboo. That's censorship. That's censor. You got to censor it. You just can't. Let's continue.
We already heard about some of these people are coming because economic reason or natural disasters. The bottom line is, when you claim asylum, you must be escaping fear and persecution from your home government because of your race, religion, and political affiliation, or membership in a particular social group.
There you go. See? And how many times have I been putting in my videos that every time you hear these migrants talking, all they keep talking about is they want to work, they want a better life. You never hear any of them, okay, saying that they're fleeing persecution and all that. And people say, well, what happens if they tell them to start doing it now? They can't. You know why they can't tell them to use those words? Because if anybody does a background check in whichever country they're coming from and there is no communist regime or anything like that, then that lie just falls flat. Only when they come here are they being told, you're an asylum seeker, you're more than welcome. But they can't claim asylum because if anybody does a background check and says, wait a minute, there's really nothing going on in this part of the world, so you're not coming here for asylum. Nobody's under persecution in your country. There's no political party going after another political party. They're not out there in the street, rounding people up from one party to the next. So it falls flat on its face. Let's continue.
That is not the fact. If you look at immigration court data over the last 10 years, you will see that nearly 9 out of 10 people who claim asylum at the border never get relief in U.S. courts that simply don't qualify. But they're coming and staying because of Biden's promises. I wrote an op-ed 6 months before the election. I said, President Biden becomes president, we'll lose the border, based on the promises he was making during the campaign. And he's kept those promises. Right now, we have record numbers of illegal aliens coming across the border. Catch and release is rampant. Right now, Secretary Mayorkas already said 85% of everybody coming to the border is being released in the country. They're not being detained. And why?
And I'm going to cut it real quick right here. Mayorkas is somebody that honestly he needs to be impeached. He needs to be arrested. He has lied on the oath so many times. I've watched a lot of his stuff. And in case anybody, is trying to think that I'm using biased news media, Forbes puts out a lot of this information. Okay? And time again, you will find Mayorkas just fudging the numbers. Well, we caught this many. There hasn't been that many gotaways, and we're turning people back. For every 100,000, we're turning back 90,000. But you just heard this man. This man has a high level. How can I say? I guess I'm more like messed up when it comes to like whatever political terms they use. But in other words, he gets some of the highest intel that anybody can have. Okay. And even if he's not working, even if he's not on the payroll right now under the Biden administration, he has 34 years under his belt. He has people on the inside that give him information. So he would know, okay, from information that he's getting, what's going on. He just said that Mayorkas, saying one thing, but yet 85% of the people that they catch, they release into the country. When Mayorkas contradicts that. Keep that in mind. But let's continue.
And being detained because of two reasons. Number one, because he knows, like I do, that vast majority of these people will be ordered removed 5, 6, 7 years down the road, maybe 10. He also knows the Homeland Security Life Cycle Report says if you get an order removal and you're in an ICE bed, you get removed 99% of the time. But if you're not in detention, your chances of being removed are slim. If you're a family unit, it's about 6%. That's why they're releasing them.
Did you hear what he said? And this is why the Democrats want to abolish ICE. Because they know that if ICE went and did their job, they will hold on to all these that are released. Okay? And say, when you get a court date, the judge is going to hear your case. And if the judge says, yeah, you're free to go, and you're free to stay in the country or go back home. They know that 95%, their story is not going to hold up. Okay? So they will be sent back over the border, back to their country. And this is what the Democrats are doing. This is what Homeland Security is doing. This is what Mayorkas and the rest of them, they're doing. They are releasing these people, and they're giving them court dates that are 7, 8, 9, 10 years down the road. By then, I mean, it's almost as if you just forget about them at that point. And he's going to reveal some more stuff, so let's continue.
Thousands of empty ICE beds sitting there right now, already paid for by the taxpayer. They'd rather release them because they know the vast majority will lose their case and be ordered removed. But if they're not in detention, they won't be removed. So this administration comes up with what they call lawful pathways, which I think are illegal, and I think they'll lose when the decision of the courts come out. The CBP-1 Act, 95.8% are approved. Where's the case-by-case analysis that is supposed to be done for people for a parole? It's not being done. It's a shell game. They move people, they move thousands to the port of entry so they can claim less illegal entries between the port of entries, but it's failed. Because November, December, we saw record amounts of crossings on the border, over 300,000 just in December. And people who say the border is not in crisis, I tell you this, in 2020, the total encounters on the southwest border is 646,000. This year, 3.2 million, 5 times what we saw during last year.
Did you hear that? In 2020, when Trump was still in office, less than 700,000. Did you hear the new numbers from last year? Over 3 million. And people are going to leave me comments saying that, oh, Republicans and MAGA supporters or whatever the case are looking for a boogeyman. Really? Let's continue.
The Trump administration. Court orders are years out, but this administration is counting on it. You overflow the system. You'll push these court dates back 7, 8 years. What's going to happen? Mark my word. When they finally get order removal 7 years down the road, they'll have a USC child. We'll have 2 USC children. They'll get phone calls from, the director of ICE will get phone calls from the Hill saying, why'd you remove that person with 2 USC kids? Well, he didn't have 2 USC kids when he entered the country legally. So now that he has 2 USC kids, he's immune from the law. The court order means nothing. So here's what I'm looking for. If for people who demand these people have a right to claim asylum, they have a right to due process. I agree. But due process doesn't mean anything if the final decision of the courts is not executed and people aren't removed. So if it takes 5 or 6 years, they still must be removed, or the system means nothing. I've been attacked numerous times because I worked with President Trump. They said our policy is inhumane. I've been called a racist and a bigot by members of Congress. But let's get one thing straight. Under President Trump, illegal immigration went to a 45-year low, 83% decline in illegal immigration. There's been several studies saying 31% of women that make that journey through cartels get sexually assaulted. So let me ask you a question, or make a point. When 83% less people are coming, how many migrants didn't die crossing the border when 83% less were coming? How many people didn't die? How many people off the terrorist screening database didn't try to come to the country? Because Border Patrol's 100% vigilant on the line, now overwhelmed. How many women and children didn't get sex trafficking to the United States? Forced into sex slavery, forced labor, debt bondage. How many billions of criminal cartels not made? Under President Biden, where they call this humane, over 1,700 migrants have died in U.S. soil. Historic record, not counting the Darien Gap in Mexico and Central America. 112,000 Americans dying from fentanyl. Historical increase in sex trafficking, forced labor, and debt bondage. Almost 100,000 missing kids that were released by ORR. 440,000 unaccompanied children entered the country through the service of the cartels. Someone needs to explain to me how that's humane, any of this stuff. And a record number of people off the terrorist watch list being arrested. 1.9 million gotaways. That statement alone should convince anybody on either side. 1.9 million gotaways, the border is not secure. It's ridiculous.
Thank you. See, those are numbers that the Democrats don't want anybody to know. Okay? But yeah, you have all these bleeding heart liberals and all these Democrats and all these rhinos. No, we gotta find them, pathways to citizenship, and we gotta give them this, and we gotta give them that, and we gotta do this, and we gotta do that. Because all they want is the money and the votes. But they don't look at those other statistics. Okay? Now people say, oh, he's just, making this stuff up. No, he told you. He worked for the past 6 presidents up until Biden. I mean, he had to be doing a good job. Obama did 2 terms. He did such a good job that Obama, commended him and gave him an award or a medal or something like that for doing a great job. What changed? I told you what changed. Is that Trump became president and said, you know what? We could do better. We could bring the numbers down even more. Which brings down the numbers of drugs, of terrorists coming in, drugs coming in, women and children being kidnapped and trafficked, children by the hundreds of thousands going missing. And yet you're going to have mayors and governors in all these blue states cry racism. Okay? That they're only doing this and they're sending all these people into their states, into their cities because, they're being run by black politicians. But they don't care about these numbers. They'll go and push a narrative, okay, and say, oh, because of what the Republicans are doing, a woman and 2 children died, in the Rio Grande, and they could have had help, but Governor Abbott stopped Border Patrol from jumping in the water and helping them when the proof already came out that poor woman and her 2 poor children lost their lives even before they got anywhere near. I mean, they were so much more closer to Mexico that the Mexican authorities were the ones able to pick up their bodies, sadly. I have a few more clips that I wanted to show, but I'm going to cut this one short because, I'm trying to do my videos just a little shorter, but there's a lot more people. And it's disgusting. Okay? Just with these 2 clips alone. Okay? And they're not that far apart as far as time. I think this one came out yesterday and the last one I showed you came out a few hours ago, or vice versa, one of the things. But it goes to show you how the narrative keeps changing, how the Democrats keep trying to change it. I showed you yesterday in the video clip of how they lied about that women and children dying, and now today on NBC, they're still trying to push it as if, you know what, it's because of what Greg Abbott is doing and what the Republicans are doing. But they won't talk about these numbers, about the millions that have come in, about the thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands that have become victims. That's not even including Americans who have died of drug overdose because of the drugs that are coming through the border. Okay? And let's not even get started with the crime that's being committed by a lot of these illegals that are coming in. People, you need to pay attention and find out. And I know a lot more people are waking up, especially in Chicago and New York. A lot more people are like, we're done. But this will be the narrative that they're going to push hard for the rest of the year, because it's an election season. Everybody knows that. It's an election year. They are going to try to feed on the sympathy of everyone when they know for a fact that they're the ones that are causing this chaos. They're the ones causing this chaos. And all that blood that is being spilled falls solely on them and on anybody. Anybody. Whether you work for the government, okay, or you're a civilian. All that blood falls on you. If you think an open border, okay, is the right thing to do, it's the humane thing to do. Obviously, it's not. Be it one death or 100,000 deaths. No one should be subject, okay, to have to deal with that or have that kind of guilt put upon them, especially if they had nothing to do with it and they're against it. So all these politicians that are for it, all these organizations that are helping, okay, be it a religious organization, whatever it is, all that falls on you. All that falls on you. But anyway, that's what I got for you. Don't forget to comment, like, share, subscribe, give it a thumbs up, pass it around. If you want to help support the channel, I'll leave a link in my description to my Cash App and PayPal, and also a link to the merch store, so you can buy your True Outlaw Patriot gear. And there's more coming, so bear with me. Still a couple of snags. But remember, people, this is not something for anybody to frown upon or ignore. I don't care who you are. Democrat, Republican, liberal, you know, black, white, Christian, Muslim. No person in their right mind should want any part of this. It has to be done the right way. Will there still be problems? Yes, but not on a massive scale like this. Definitely not. Use common sense. Okay? So remember, stay vigilant, keep praying, and keep praying for each other. And keep praying for this country. Peace.